This channel is all about star system performance and hardware, and one of the most recommended pieces of equipment I've had for a long time has been the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. Now, Tobii reached out and asked me to make this video. They've sponsored this video and I was very happy to do so because it's been a long time and I need to take a proper look at this thing again. Now, if you want a chance to win one of these things, Tobii themselves are running a sweepstake on their website, so there's a link in the description for that. But also, until the 30th, there is 20% off, which is a big chunk of money. So check that out again, link in the description. I first checked this out when CIG and Tobii announced their partnership. I just immediately went and bought one and wanted to test it out. And I was pretty blown away by how immersive it feels and how much it actually improved the game experience. So even though they are sponsoring this video, there is proof on the internet that I bought one of these myself and I love this anyway. They are amazing. First of all, what does this thing even do? Well, through the powers of magic, science and infrared light, I think, it tracks your head movement, but crucially it also tracks your eye movement. In Star Citizen, the main use for this is to allow you to look around your cockpit and actually feel like you are there. It's not obviously VR, but it does give some of the sense of immersion that you get with VR, but without the headset. Setup itself is as easy as plugging it in and just follow the instructions. You'll be prompted to download the Tobii experience, and that will basically line everything up for you and make sure you stick it down in exactly the right place on your monitor. It attaches to the monitor using a magnet with a sticky side. You get a couple of the box. Mine has never had any issues. It's solidly stuck onto the monitor. It's not fallen off or anything. If you've got a curved monitor, you can't attach the eye tracker directly on, but there's no issue there because they provide an attachment that you put underneath and it sits below the monitor. Once you're all attached, it's time to do some quick calibration that takes maybe a minute or two, and then you're really ready to go. In order to make this easier for you to see what I'm looking at, I'm going to use the Tobii Ghost app that allows me to show you what I'm looking at. So this is aimed more at streamers, I suppose, but it is a pretty cool feature. Getting set up in Star Citizen is very simple. Options, comms, VoIP and head tracking, and then you enable Tobii as a head tracking source, and then enable head tracking. Now, when I first tried this out, I found that I had to probably dial in quite a lot of the settings to get it feeling quite natural for me, but now it really is pretty much plug and play. I don't think most people will even need to tweak anything. So let's now get into game and show you what it does. So I'll run some footage of different scenarios where you might want to use this and talk about it. The main thing I think that people think about when they're looking at the Tobii Eye Tracker is space combat, and it does really shine in the cockpit. Your ability to just look around is stunning. It really does make quite a big difference to the experience. Now, again, people might think, well, this is then just for people who want to do combat, but I would disagree with that. I would say anybody who's flying a ship, which is pretty much all of us, would benefit from this and would enjoy using this. It's not that it just makes your performance in game better, makes you a better pilot or anything, but it's just more fun to play. It's more immersive. You actually are just able to look around the cockpit. It just does really feel like you are in the spaceship. It doesn't take really any time to get used to. In my experience, when I first tried this, my ability to just pick it up, it was just really fast. There wasn't any sense of learning curve because it's all just quite natural. You look where you look and you turn your head where you think you want to turn your head. It just really works really quite well. It's a really well thought out product, and it is executing on the things it wants to do really, really well. On foot, well, the first time when I tried this, all that time ago, I did not like using this in FPS. I just found it was way too kind of jiggly and wobbly, and I just couldn't really cope with it. But to my surprise, when I've turned it back on to make this video, it's actually pretty good. They've honestly tightened up the dead zone and just made it much more stable. So the center area, when you're looking forward, is really quite stable, and it's only when you make more extended movements to the side where then it will turn. And I tried this for a good while. I went off and did a box mission, and I actually found that I really quite liked it. So I'm going to be keeping that on for the foreseeable future, just to keep testing it. But yeah, I've got to change my mind from my original video. I kind of dismissed it as a bit of an on-foot gimmick, but actually it's really much more usable than I thought. And some people might not agree with that, but I enjoyed this much more this time around. They've done some good work in terms of tweaking the settings. Low light might be a concern for some people if you're playing in quite a dark environment, you've not got lights on. Just to demonstrate this to you, I'm going to turn the light off so we can see how this works in low light conditions. Okay, so now I'm in pretty much pitch black, but as you can see, No issues whatsoever. So even if you're playing in quite a low light environment, it just picks you up. The infrared light obviously just doesn't need light itself, nor light that we see, to be effective. So as you can see here, I turned this off. It makes no difference whatsoever to the performance of Tobii. It still is tracking me. It's still able to track my eyes and my head movement. No issues whatsoever. I don't wear glasses, but one of my wonderful 9-year-old daughters does. So she's going to come and demonstrate if this works with glasses. Okay, so you look at the screen. Yeah. If I look around, can you see how it moves around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, very nice. Zoom in. Yeah. If you move closer, you can actually see more. It zooms in for you. A good demonstration. From everything I can see, glasses are not a concern whatsoever. And in terms of the size of your monitor, well, on the Tobii website, they talk about head tracking. There's just no screen size limit whatsoever. But for eye tracking, it can accurately track your eye up to movements on a 30-inch screen. So again, I've heard people with bigger screens being able to push it and get use out of it. But again, do some research, do some reading around, look on Reddit, find out what people are saying. But again, for most people's monitors, there's no issues with the eye tracking whatsoever. And again, head tracking will just work whatever you're doing. So I'm going to make a pretty bold claim here in that I think pretty much everybody who plays Star Citizen would benefit from one of these things. I just think it really does make quite a significant difference to the immersion, that wonderful word that we love, and it just really does plant you in the cockpit. There's other things like joysticks as well, things that make you feel like you're really flying a spaceship, but this one makes you feel like you're in the spaceship. You just have the ability to look around inside of the spaceship. It's amazing. There's all sorts of reasons why that's cool and actually useful for in-game gameplay, as well as actual performance from a combat point of view and all sorts of things. But ultimately, it's just really, really cool and really fun. It just makes you feel like you're living that dream that we're kind of all chasing after. Being in Star Wars, I think, is probably what most of us are after. So I can't recommend this enough. Again, this is a sponsored video, but even if it wasn't a sponsored video and I've made one that isn't sponsored, I'd be saying the exact same thing. I think if you're looking at buying more spaceships, I would consider things like this. I think once you've got your spaceships, once you've got your PC sorted, I think things like the Tobii Eye Tracker are the icing, cherry on top of the icing. They really do kind of add that extra kind of sparkle of magic to the gameplay experience, and I love this thing.